How many agree with me that shopping is stressful? Now, let me explain to you my version of being stressful. And it begins by the time you're getting into the mall. First of all, you're frisked by the security. And then, just before you get into the supermarket, there's always this group of people behind a certain table who come from a certain NGO. No pun intended from NGOs to NGOs. But they're trying to sell you something so that they sponsor someone, or they have this cash sheet that you need to fill in, whatever amount that you can fill in. And then if you tell them no, or if you tell them that you're not able to do it, they give you that look of... And then you get into the supermarket. And there are many options of what you want to buy. And every other option has a salesperson who's trying to convince you why their product is much better than the other product. And they have this offer that they're trying to convince you to get into so that you can buy one and probably get like another smaller product free. Okay? And then you walk to the till, probably you have about 10 things, and you walk to the till, and as the guy is running the things, you get to the 7th thing, and it's 5,000 bob. And you're wondering, has this guy been running this thing twice? Okay? You make your payment, and there's this supermarket attendant who insists that they have to help you take your things if you're driving to the car. They take you to the car, and of course they give you this look and create this atmosphere that, you know what, sijakubebea bure. So, because he has helped you, you are genuine, and you're a Christian, and you come to Mavuno downtown, you know what, and you're taught to give. You fumble in your pocket, and you remove all the coins that you have, and you give it to them. And finally you're in your car, and you're saying, "Fuchs, finally I can just drive off." And you engage the reverse gear, and you check at your rear view mirror, and you see the watchman beckoning that you're clear to go. As he's coming nearer to your window, and you know what he wants, right? You know what, boss, kuna baridi sana, so niachie kidogo ya chai. Nunua chai. This is the kind of stressful situation that I'm talking about. Now share with your neighbor. What kind of activity do you engage in that leaves you stressed out? Talk to the person sitting next to you. 20 marks. You know, a married friend of mine says what gets him stressed is when he hears, "Honey, we need to talk." When you hear that, especially if you're a guy, run for dear life. There's another one, applying for government documents or legal documents. Let me say this, if you work for an embassy, you need to do mizizi. Because let me tell you, the kind of stress that you take us through, I don't know how many documents you need to fill, then you go to the interview and you look like this chicken that has been nyeshewad because they are so intimidating over there. They're asking you some questions that, anyway, those are my frustrations. For those of us who are joining us today, we're actually going through our series, Winning, Don't Let Life Stop You. And I said last week that God's desire is that every one of us should win in life, should be successful in life, be it in your social, family, work, and also even in your finances. And I said that we are right in the middle of the year 2014. And this is a very good time for you to take a pause and evaluate how the year has been, even as we take a critical look at how we live our lives so that we can set ourselves up to succeed in 2014 or moving forward after 2014. Now, I'm going to be teaching you on principles that are going to be life-changing if you apply to your life. And the amazing thing is this, is that if you're not a believer, if you have no relationship with Jesus Christ and you're here today, I'm glad that you're here because you can also apply these principles to your life. Whether or not you're a believer, this series is for you. Whether you are old, whether you are young, maybe right now you're at the place where your life is moving at a very hectic pace. You are the place where there are many responsibilities and everything is demanding of your time. And I say this series is for you because it's going to help you to begin to align yourself and set yourself up to succeed in the future. So wherever you are right now in your life, I am glad that you are here today. And last week we started by looking at the Genesis principle. How many of you remember the Genesis principle? Say I. Anyone who can say the 3 steps that we learned last week? There's a gift for you. Oh, okay. Her hand went up. Okay. Give me the 3 steps from the Genesis principle.
Separate and organize. Create a rhythm and respect lights out.
Is she right? Yeah. Let's give her a round of applause. And Pastor Osai will get you a gift after this. And for those of us who want more on that message, please visit mavunodowntown.wordpress.com. That's our blog. Just visit there, see the message there, and let's continue with the conversation. Now, let me get back to today's message. Life is full of stressful situations. We've just dedicated babies. Having babies is kaudo stress, right? Moving house, moving offices, getting married. It's not stressful. It's not stressful, okay. Relational challenges, maybe you've just gone through a breakup, or there's an impending divorce, or there's a death of a family member, or even when it comes to your job, losing your job, or even losing your finances, or even losing your business, it can be very stressful for you. Now, fortunately, our bodies were created, they were hardwired to protect us from the effects of stress. Our God is a genius God. Because there's one thing that he did. He created a fail-safe mechanism that produces hormones such as adrenaline to help us to counter stress. Let me share with you some biology before we get into the theology. Hey, I can rhyme. Whenever your body encounters a perceived threat, say you are walking around a dark corner and you find a large dog and it's barking at you. What do or what happens? Your brain sets off an alarm system that triggers the production of these hormones, adrenaline, increasing your heart rate, dilating your blood vessels, increasing glucose in your bloodstream, and instantly boosting your energy. And at that point, you do things that you've never done before. Okay? The alarm system prepares your body for fight or flight. But this is only meant to be a short-term solution. Now, however, many people become adrenaline junkies and are living their lives in a state of heightened and constant stress. And the body's alarm system is always on. There's always this beeping light that is showing you the alarm system. Say, for instance, you have a paper or you have a presentation to complete, and you leave it to the last minute, causing your stress levels to shoot up. Am I speaking to somebody? As you begin working on it, you experience a certain burst of energy. And you all of a sudden feel like, you know what, I can do this. And while I'm at it, I can even do a much better job. Okay? So what happens? You complete it just in time, and it leaves you with an incredible high. Adrenaline kicks in, and in the long run, we end up in a phase called adrenal fatigue. Okay? Let me interest you in this jargon. This happens after prolonged periods of stress, where the adrenal glands, not designed to be in a constant state of high alert, get fatigued from pumping the hormone and can no longer meet the demand. It's possible that some of us are already beginning to experience the symptoms of extended periods of stress in our lives. I want us to do an exercise. See if any of this ring true in your life. Okay? Now I want you to raise both hands up. If you're tweeting, if you're writing notes, just put them down for a while. Put both your hands up. And whenever I mention something and it resonates with you, fold one finger. Okay? I'll try and do it as fast as possible so that you don't get tired. How many of you experience tiredness and fatigue for no reason? Just fold one finger. And we're in church. Nakuona tafadhali. Okay? How many of you experience decreased sex drive? If you're single and I see you folding your finger. Just take a look. If the person sitting next to you has folded 2 fingers and they don't have a ring on their finger, tell them to stand up. Okay, let's move on. That's for the married folk. How many of you struggle with sleep? Either you are unable to fall asleep, or maybe you fall asleep but wake up prematurely, or you sleep soundly but wake up exhausted. Fold your next finger. One, just one. Whenever I mention something, just one. Okay. How many of you are dependent on coffee, sodas, and other stimulants to give you the energy you need? Fold the next finger. Okay. Is there anyone who needs an extra finger next to you? How many are just unable to slow down and enjoy times of extended rest? You just keep on going. It's either your work, but you just keep on going. You are unable to slow down. You can't tell yourself, I need to slow down. Okay? How many of you are regularly craving salty and sweet snacks? How many of you crave salty and sweet snacks? How many of you are unable to quickly bounce back from illness? You have colds like 3 or 4 times in a year, and somehow it takes you a longer time for you to bounce back. Okay, be honest, be honest. How many are struggling with persistent symptoms your doctor cannot readily explain? You don't even know what you're going through right now. You have no idea. Okay, I have many, but let me take a pause there. If you have closed 4 fingers and above, please stand to your feet. Wanajijua. Okay, if you have closed 3 fingers and above, stand to your feet. 3 fingers and above. If you've closed 3 fingers and above. Who here has not closed even 1 finger? Okay, sit down. This message is for you. Now, all these are signs that we may be headed towards adrenal fatigue and completely oblivious to it. Life seems to be sending this message that you need to slow down. But what do? We pop pills, kill the messenger, and keep on going. Okay? Adrenaline increases our heart rate, and eventually it will cause heart problems. It dilates our blood vessels. Eventually, will lead to high blood pressure, and it increases our glucose levels, leading to type 2 diabetes. The reality is that life cannot be totally stress-free. And if this is the case, Mavuno Downtown, how then do we contain the stress that life brings so that it does not overwhelm us and flood every area of our lives? This is the question that I want us to answer today. How do we contain the stress of life so that it does not overwhelm us? I want us to learn from God's example. And I said, last week I said we learned from God himself. And I want us to continue learning from God because the way we live our lives is very critical for you to succeed in life. And I want to take us to Jeremiah chapter 5 verse 20 and to 22. And it says this: "Announce this to the descendants of Jacob and proclaim it in Judah." This is God speaking. "Hear this, you foolish and senseless people, who have eyes but do not see, who have ears but do not hear. Should you not fear me, declares the Lord? Should you not tremble in my presence? I made the sand a boundary for the sea, an everlasting barrier it cannot cross. The waves may roll, but they cannot prevail. They may roar, but they cannot cross it." In this passage, God is speaking to the nation of Judah, and he's saying to them, see who I am, okay? And understand how I work. He says, even for the seas, as great and mighty as they are, I have placed a boundary, one for them that they cannot cross. Let me illustrate it this way. Majority of us have been to the coast, if not all of us. You've been to the coast of Mombasa, and you have seen the magnificent Indian Ocean. Now, with depths of up to 12,000 feet, I want to say that this ocean can generate ridiculously high waves, if you don't know. As a result, being on the high seas can be quite tumultuous for you. What God is really saying here is that regardless of how big, how bad the ocean is, irrespective of how the waves rumble and roar and come to the shore as fast and furious, once the water gets to the shore, it meets a boundary that it cannot break, that God has set in place for it. The water then must humbly roll back into the sea. Now watch this, because this is very critical for you. If you understand this, then you'll begin to understand the message and what God is trying to tell you. If you want to reduce your stress and contain it in your life, you need to do what God did. You need to put boundaries in place to ensure that those important areas of your life that have the tendency of overrunning your life do not cross the boundaries that you have set in place for them. In other words, today's principle is the boundary principle. That's what I want to teach us today. Most of us, we are at the stage of life where I want to call it the acquisition stage. Because either we are investing, we are working a certain job, you've gotten some money, and right now you're buying stuff, you're investing in stuff, and if not all of us, maybe, if not few of us, maybe most of us have acquired a plot somewhere, or you're planning to buy a plot somewhere. What is the first thing that you do when you want to buy a plot? You go and figure out the boundary. You go and check out where the beacons are, and you draw the boundary so that it can protect you from future problems with your neighbor, or even with the authorities that are there. In the same way, Mavuno downtown. Before you begin to enjoy the successes of life, before you begin to win in life, you need to start by setting boundaries that will set you up to win. And my one point in this message, the one thing that I want you to walk out with here today that is bound to change your life is this: to win in life, draw your boundaries. To win in life, draw your boundaries. That is so creative. I deserve a round of applause. Here's the thing. I was just joking. Here's the thing. Let me break it down for you. Is your health important to you? Is your health important? If you have not determined that answer by now, then life is going to take advantage of you. It's going to take advantage of your ignorance and push you till the end to a place where you're going to be headed for ruin. Draw the line on what to eat and what not to eat. That is very profound. Hallelujah. Determine that you will begin to consistently exercise. Because if you don't draw a boundary, if you don't decide that, you know what, I'm going to exercise this body, I'm going to feed this body well. You know, some of us, we make this prayer. You go sit there in a restaurant, you order for a cheeseburger, a milkshake, and anything else that comes with that. After that, you'll order for ice cream. And then as you're praying to God, you're like, God, please make this food to be of nourishment to my body. You know, you can be practical. You can choose not to eat those foods. And as you're making the prayer, then it becomes practical. To win in life, you need to draw your boundaries. You need to make sure that you exercise. And no one or no thing will take time of that exercise time for you. When it comes to your work, and let me speak, whether you are employed or not, whether you're in business or not, please, these are principles that you can apply wherever you are. You have to draw the line on how much work you will do. Because if you don't, work will slowly begin to creep into every area of your life and demand so much out of you, even to the point of physical and mental fatigue. Remember, last week I said this, that work always expands to fill the time that you allocate it. Work always expands to fill the time that you allocate it. Draw a line. Leave your work at the office. You know, I have learned how to do this the hard way. And and you can ask my wife, whenever I leave the office, whenever I leave that office gate, I have left the office. You know, my team members are here and they know very well, after 6 p.m., we better not be having work conversations unless it's absolutely necessary. Because I understand that there are those exceptions where you definitely need to have that conversation. But you need to learn how to draw boundaries, because to win in life, draw your boundaries. Now, I realize that there are many of us who are here and you are not in control of your work hours. I realize that. And we are supposed to be working 40 hours a week. That's like the legal thing. I don't know what the labor laws say, but around 40 hours a week. But your employer is happy when you give them 60 to 80 hours a week. They will never tell you, you've overworked. Who here has ever heard that from your boss? Including my team. You know, that you've overworked, go home. We have 1 or 2 hands or 3 hands up there. Those are amazing bosses. You guys didn't raise up your hands? Okay. In fact, for some of us where we work, there's an unwritten rule that you should work overtime. No one says it, but the way when you stand up, the way you are looked at 5 p.m. suggests that you just need to sit down. Okay? But here's the thing, the problem is we don't often stop to ask ourselves, what cost will I pay for living like this? What cost will I pay? Many feel like they have no choice. And yet many more have believed the myth, you know, that right now I am young. Let me strain myself right now. Let me give it all that I have. Then I will rest in the future. I will play golf in the future. You know what? I will spend time with my family in the future. Let me just give it all that I have right now. But what you don't realize is that you're sacrificing the best years of your life. You're sacrificing the best things, the best time that you should have had or even have with your family for things that probably really don't matter. Value for family. You need to be able to spend that time with family. And if you're not married, this is time for you. Just spend time alone. You don't have to be moving all over the place. And I'll ask for some of you who are business people, these are some of the things that you can implement in your businesses. For some of you, you can implement these things even in your place of employment, where you're employed, where you just set a certain policy and you say, this is how I'm going to live out my life. And the last thing that I want to talk about is energy, because this is very critical. The demands of life have a way of threatening our life boundaries, causing us to cede what is important for what is not. Our energy, or lack thereof, is a key determinant to whether we will be able to fight off the challenge. If we are to keep stress contained, then I say this: we must ensure that the demands of life do not exceed our energy levels. You should not allow the demands of life to exceed your energy levels. Now, here are some quick tips for us to manage our energy. When you plan your week, always start by scheduling the things that recharge you. The trap we fall into is by prioritizing things that rob us of energy. Okay? And we end up tired and overwhelmed. What is it that energizes you? Is it sports? Is it reading a book? Is it hanging out with friends? Is it cooking? What is it that energizes you? And don't tell me TV. For some of you too, because too much TV does not energize you. Okay? Too much DSTV, maybe I should say that. Make time for things that ignite your spirit. And the thing is this: before you begin the week, work them in early. Decide on Monday. In fact, decide by this afternoon. What is it that I need to do this coming week? What are the things? What are my big rocks that I need to determine to do this coming week? The things that energize me. If it's reading your book, for me, I find myself that whenever I engage in strategic conversations, that always energizes me. So what I do is that when you look even at my calendar, is that all the meetings that will sort of challenge my thinking are the ones that I put most importantly at the beginning of the week, because I know that that will give me the energy for the week to keep on going. What is it that energizes you? Because you are at fault of putting things that will suck out your energy. By Tuesday afternoon, you are gone for the week. Secondly, determine what you want to accomplish each day before the day starts. Many people fall into the trap of overloading themselves with activities, and then going about them in such a haphazard way that by the time you're getting to the end of the day, you are so frustrated and overwhelmed because you haven't accomplished anything. You just had a bucket full of activities. And in the decision book, 50 Models of Strategic Thinking, the author lays an interesting matrix. I don't know whether we have this done. And this matrix, it represents, you can see on my left side, there's the important part and the urgent part. Now, this is very critical. If you can even draw it somewhere, please do, because on the first box on the left, it says important but not urgent. Decide when you will do it. These are things that are important to you, but they are really not urgent. And you put them in that box. You decide when you will do them. You don't have to do them now. Then on the right side, there are things that are urgent and important. Those are the things that you need to do them immediately. I was about to make a funny joke, but anyway. Do those things immediately at that particular moment. Okay? And then there are things that are not important and not urgent. There are things that are not important and you can do them much later. What are those things for you? And you can decide them for yourself. And then there are things that are urgent but not important. And those ones you can delegate them to someone else. You can have someone else do them for you. For example, you don't have to go and queue and pay DSTV. If you have to pay DSTV, you can delegate it to someone else. Someone else can do that for you. Is it urgent? Well, maybe because World Cup is here next week, it's urgent, right? But not very important. You can't die without it. You get what I mean? Okay, the men are about to stone me right now. It's okay. Sawa, it's important and urgent. To win in life, draw your boundaries. I started by giving you an illustration of the ocean. We said that regardless, if in case you want that, we're going to post it up on the mavunodowntown.wordpress.com, so you'll find it there, and you can pick it up and fill it in for yourself. And I said this, that regardless of how big and bad the waves of the ocean are, and irrespective of how furiously the waters race to the beach, when they get to the seashore, they find a boundary they cannot cross, and almost always humbly roll back into the ocean. But this is not always the case. There are situations where there are fault lines beneath the seas. Fault lines that cause the water to behave abnormally. And the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami is a perfect example. In such cases, the waves do not respect the boundary lines breaching them with ease, causing untold damage and destruction, both to the people and to the buildings and property. I suspect, Mavuno Downtown, that there are many amongst us who are living with quiet fault lines in their lives. We may even look like we are winning at life. We may look like we have everything together, like we are headed in the right direction. We are bound to succeed. But a tsunami of sorts is inevitably headed our way. For some of us, it will be evident because our families are going to pay the price if they aren't already. For some of us, our health will break down as a result, and yet for others, the elusive career that we are trying to chase after is going to end us up in the hospital bed. Or losing your family, losing the things that are important to you. Because many of us have not decided for ourselves what is important. You haven't made that decision. What is it that is important? And write it down for you. Is it family? Then family should not come second or third. Is it God? Then God should not come second or third. We live under the tyranny of the urgent. And by default, the urgent thing will almost always be your job, that business deal, that thing that you need to do with someone else, the deadlines, the never-ending project, the business deals, and so on and so forth. And you've become slaves to the urgent. There's always something that we have to do. When you draw boundaries, then I say this to us, you are able to focus your energies on what is priority. And then that gives you the courage, it gives you the boldness to say no to what is not priority. Activities, tasks, to even say no to people. There are some people who are not priority in your life. We love them by the love of Christ, but they don't have to take all your time. When you draw a line, you take control and ensure that every emergency does not become your own. To win in life, draw your boundaries. Here's a truth that I have learned. A line will be drawn in your life with or without your consent. If you don't draw boundaries for yourself, the whole world is going to draw boundaries for you. And guess what? They will not draw boundaries that favor you. They will draw boundaries that favor them. There's a famous passage in Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd, that talks about dependency in God, his provision and guidance to prosperity. But there's a sad retelling of Psalms 23. One that I fear is a reality for many of us. And I want to say it to us. And this is how it goes. The clock is my dictator. I shall not rest. It makes me lie down only when exhausted. Drew, I think I need keys. It leads me into deep depression. It hounds my soul. It leads me in circles of frenzy for activity's sake. Even though I run frantically from task to task, I will never get it all done, for my ideal is with me. Deadlines and my need for approval, they drive me. They demand performance from me beyond the limits of my schedule. They anoint my head with migraines. My in-basket overflows. Surely fatigue and time pressures shall follow me all the days of my life. And I will dwell in the bonds of frustration forever. It may sound funny, but the sad thing is that some of us are actually living out Psalms 23, the retelling or the antithesis of Psalms 23. I pray that this psalm will not be the reality of anyone at Mavuno Downtown from today. In fact, if anything, I pray that indeed the Lord will be your shepherd, and that as he guides you, as he guides your life, as he guides your career, he will bless the work of your hands and make you wildly successful. He will make you successful beyond your wild or wildest dreams. And as a result, you would lack no good thing.